Hello, Adab, Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal. A very good evening to all of you. And today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Shervani. She's the founder director of Angel Global School and Academy for Teachers Training. उसके साथ साथ वो मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर हैं बेयर्स एंड हॉकर्स एडवर्टाइजिंग एंड मार्केटिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड की और सुपर स्ट्रक्चर्स रियल स्टेट डेवलपर्स. Dr. Shervani has made significant strides in various fields with over 25 years of experience in education and teacher training. She has revolutionized curriculum design and established several key educational institutions. उसके अलावा academics के अलावा उनकी expertise, social media marketing, event management, human resource management और उसके अलावा वो social worker हैं जो 3 लिटरेसी स्किल सेंटर्स चला रहे हैं यंग एडल्ट्स के लिए, वुमेन के लिए, बच्चों के लिए इलियास चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट के थ्रू. खास तौर से अलीगढ़ की जो लॉक इंडस्ट्री है उसमें जो लोग काम करते हैं उनके लिए. उसके साथ साथ वो एग्जीक्यूटिव बोर्ड मेंबर हैं मुस्लिम सोशल अपलिफ्ट सोसाइटी अलीगढ़ के. So she is one lady with too many things in her hand. She wears so many different caps, and obviously she is brilliant, and that is why she is able to do so. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Shervani. We are more than pleased to have you here.
Thank you so much, Aamir, and Nurture Life that has given me this opportunity to meet so many people on Facebook Live. And Assalamu alaikum, a very good evening to all the people who have joined us today. And thank you, Aamir, for such a elaborate introduction. Although I'm trying my best, एक छोटी सी कोशिश है जिंदगी में और एक जद्दोजहद है जिसे हर वक्त जारी रखते हैं जिससे कि कुछ लोगों तक पहुंच सकें, कुछ लोगों की लाइफ्स को टच कर सकें. और थैंक यू सो मच फॉर हैविंग मी ऑन द शो.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I wasn't able to do the justice I should have done to that introduction. मुझे आज दिखाई कम दे रहा है. I couldn't sleep at night, and that's why my eyes are really tired right now. Anyway, so let's start with you. I mean, let's start with your background. You're doing so many things right now. इतनी सारी चीजें आप कर रही हैं इस वक्त, लेकिन जब आप छोटी थी.
Yeah, but this has been this wide spectrum is for the last 10 years. My initial career was, of course, in academics primarily, but for the last 10 years, my career has diverged and digressed from the main academics to other spheres as well.
Okay, so you wanted to become, I mean, you wanted to get into academics अपने बचपन से ही, या this is something which you thought of later?
Aamir, honestly speaking, the time that we were getting education, that means it was 80s when we were in our school. I mean, the school was a sphere which we relished more rather than target any particular kind of a career or planned any career as such. एक लिबरल माहौल मिला पेरेंट्स की तरफ से जिन्होंने आज़ादी दी सोचने की और जिंदगी को समझने की, परखने की. तो एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करते रहे कुछ. माय स्कूलिंग वाज इन इलाहाबाद. My father was a businessman. He lived in Allahabad at that time. Although my family belongs to Aligarh, and later out of love for the Aligarh Muslim University, जो हमारे सब जो अलीगढ़ से एसोसिएटेड होते हैं लोग, शायद उनके दिल में कहीं ना कहीं AMU का जो, जैसे मैं वर्ड इश्क यूज करूंगी, वो हमेशा जिंदा रहता है. तो मेरे वालिद के दिल में भी बहुत ही ज्यादा AMU के लिए बहुत रिगार्ड था. So after I finished my high school in Shervani, Allahabad, he sent me to Aligarh, and here I joined. At that time, it was +2. I think I was the first batch. That before that it was PUC, or maybe a year or so. We didn't have the new building, which is now in Abdullah Hall, the new building, of course, at that time. And I came to Aligarh, and जो एक ट्रेंड होता है टिपिकल PCB, फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, बायोलॉजी, सब जब आप अच्छे स्टूडेंट होते हैं, आप थोड़े से भी ब्राइट होते हैं, तो पेरेंट्स उसी की तरफ आपको रुझान दिलाते हैं और शायद एडमिशन्स हो जाते हैं. तो
Mm-hmm.
years, I don't know how to describe those 2 years of plus two. I passed through them, just lived through them, and discover. It was a journey of self discovery. And then after 2 years, I realized that this is not where I belong, and I need to be somewhere else. And of course, schooling में क्योंकि reading और बहुत सारा literature काफी background में already था. I used to love to read as a child. Sixth, seventh,
Mm-hmm.
eighth, all those classes I used to spend all the evenings reading books. I remember still that my mother, when I was in class five, my birthday gift was Mark and Mandy. If somebody knows those characters, they were very tiny, two brothers and sisters. So that kind of atmosphere I was given. So my passion for books took me towards literature, and I did my masters and graduation, and then later I did my PhD in English literature. So that formed my very pure academic background, and that's how I became an academician. I don't know. I don't know really. Did I plan it or it happened? I was following my passion actually.
Great. I mean, I think that is good enough to follow what you really want to do, what you really love. So, but then you moved on to establish Angel Global School and Academy for Teachers Training.
Yeah,
So,
as this is a long journey. I went outside India to work. My husband was also working there, and I after marriage I worked. I joined him there, and in Saudi Arabia, I was very fortunate to actually become amongst the first few pioneering women. There was a start of the women's education, emphasis on the women's education in Saudi Arabia in the
mhm,
early 90s and 2000s, in fact, not late 90s and 2000s. And the king over there at that time emphasized on women's education, and he established several universities exclusively, and the departments opened up for women. So I got a chance to work with an American college, and then later on King Abdulaziz University, Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, where really that was, I think that was the best thing that I got, because I got an opportunity to work with a 50 different nationalities. There were British, American, Egyptians, Syrians. I mean, all myriads of nationalities, which gave me a huge insight into how people look at life, and apart from the academics. So, and moreover, I was working with them to get the Institution of English Language that to be accredited by a American organization. So I was heading
mhm.
that team, and I was working in a leadership position at that time. So it was a great fortune. I had a lot of experience working there, which gave me a basis to whatever now I did after coming back to India in 2013. I came back, and then I all that got formed, in those years that I had spent there working with different people and different work systems, and honing my skills in different ways. So when I came back, that was the time 2013-14, and I had the fortune to work with a program of the American Embassy called the Access Program for the last 10 years. I worked with them as a trainer and as a teacher of that program. That again gave me a lot of insight into English language teaching and learning. And in the meanwhile, I was working with Collins, HarperCollins. I wrote a book series for them on listening and speaking skills,
Mhm.
which was used in schools for class seventh and eighth. And then a writing book that I wrote again was published by Viva, and such books, especially emphasizing on the English language teaching skills. So all this was going on while I was training the teachers also in the schools. When I came back, and I started to look for spaces here as to how, because it was a very personal kind of a situation that I had shifted to Aligarh, although I belong to Aligarh. But I was on a very good job, but on personal grounds I had to shift back to Aligarh. So I searched and I visited different schools in that meanwhile, and I observed that basics like formative assessment, summative assessment, even these kind of things the teachers were not aware of, and they were troubled. So I started to train, and I trained for different companies like Poland's. Also, I trained for them, and then I started my own academy in 2014 and 13-14. I established this academy for teachers training to train the teachers basically in not only English language teaching skills, but other skills in educational psychology and IT skills. All these things were included in that. And I had a group of trainers joining me. Some of the trainers joined me. So this institution started to grow gradually, and I started to go to different schools to train teachers, and that was a very enriching experience. After that, I could present a paper in the international seminar. In fact, or in international what do you call that conference organized by the British Council. It was held in Hyderabad, and I was able to present what my observations of, or rather, challenges that were there for the teachers in India at that particular time in 2015-16. So that also enriched me and gave me a lot of experience and insight. In the meanwhile, while I was going to the, because I was teaching in a university in Saudi Arabia and I was used to teaching adults. So when I was entering the classrooms, because I became an observer of the teachers, I observed that
Mm-hmm.
the classroom in a school is very different from a university classroom. Obviously, you can understand it's the kids there, and the kids have
Right.
their own world. They have a world of their own. Somebody's running and somebody's sitting, somebody's going to drink water in a classroom. So I thought that the kids are very interesting, and the classroom is actually a lab for the teachers. That's practically what I saw when I went to a classroom to observe a teacher, that the classroom itself is a lab. So that idea struck me, and then I started to read more about children and child psychology and try to understand what the kids need. And there is a huge vacuum in, especially because I belong to Aligarh and I was here, that there is a lack of good education, and especially there's no global connect. The schools here, even the private schools, they have a very closed atmosphere, and they are just focusing on examinations, and just focusing on qualifying NEET exam, or any other exam, competitive exams, were the main focus for the students of any school. So I thought, why not have something different? And then, sorry, I thought of having a starting with a kindergarten, and I established the Angel Global School as a kindergarten first. In the first one year, just 2 years, it was just a kindergarten, and then I added on the other classes. And now, of course, we have inclusive education also. We have children who are with special needs. They do come and join our school, and we give them help accordingly. So it all started with the concept of playway learning with activities, having activity based classrooms that are not just focusing on memorization, understanding, analysis, critical thinking. These are the values that we cultivate from the beginning. So that's how I established both the organizations.
Wonderful. So, but then you went ahead and I think you formed bearers and hawkers and superstructures also.
Yeah, actually, I had a very business inclination because my father was a businessman and my father-in-law was an academician. So I had
Mm-hmm.
a great impact of both the personalities on me. And my husband, in the meanwhile, was already working with businesses over here, and he's into marketing and advertising. So
Right.
I because I would be participating in a lot of events of his, and participating in giving him advice, sometimes giving him a helping hand. So I became a part of the advertising, of the creative part, And recently we started with he was already into, my husband was already into real estate. Actually, those are the two companies that I joined. They are joined with my husband. So they are, the school and the academy is purely what I do, and those two
Mm-hmm.
businesses are where I am a co-director or a director actually, giving my advice. And today only we had the fortune that the Grand Bazaar, there is a it's a kind of a mall, but with a very basic kind of appearance and look, and the space that will be utilized. We are building that in Aligarh, and that will be a
Okay.
landmark. So today we have been sponsoring the T20 first time held in Aligarh, at Aligarh Muslim University grounds, playground, the cricket grounds, and it came to an end today. And the T20 was held for the first time in Aligarh. That was sponsored by the company that I am a director of, and it was a great achievement. So basically, I aim at inclusiveness and patronizing sports, and I believe in social businesses that are benefiting the society. My concept is that. So despite the fact that it's a commercial complex, we have been encouraging women entrepreneurs to join us. I have held several programs. I have organized a program exclusively for women entrepreneurs to come over and to be able to invest. I try to encourage, because I'm sure the audiences and you must be familiar with the gigantic institution Aligarh Muslim University that occupies more than half of Aligarh as a city. If you look at the locale of Aligarh, the significance of Aligarh symbolically as an academic city, and the second thing is, of course, the lock industry. The city itself is based on the lock industry, but the shadow of AMU is so
Mm-hmm.
large. It's like a banyan tree. I feel it's a banyan tree under the shadow of which sometimes smaller things do not grow. And I felt when over here that the businesses were not thriving. On one side there is an export and hardware and all that industry going on, but because I had a very close interaction with business people also over here in different capacities. So because I'm doing the social work, as you already pointed out, and there I was dealing with children who were working, not children really, but 16 years, 17, 18 years old young boys working in the lock industry or the hardware industry, and they were not getting proper education. So that literacy
Mm-hmm.
center we established just to make the young boys who could further carry on their studies. And that those classes are held in the evening. Once they are done with their work, they come in the evening from 6 to 8. So that center works for that. And of course I have been joined with, I work for other NGOs also. So I just help them wherever. Sometimes I do it through my own organization, and if there is a need in another organization, I do volunteer, and I do give my, in the form of advice sometimes, if it's possible in any other way. A human resource also, some person needs a job, then we can recommend to the other organizations likewise. So that's how I try to pull all the strings, because they are more or less correlated, in the sense, of course, the kind of nature of work is very different in each field. But because I'm a single point where different people are meeting me and I'm meeting them in different capacities, so I'm able to navigate one field into the other that way. That way.
That's wonderful. So, but still, I mean, it's I mean, being involved in so many different things. How do you get the time to do that? I mean, it's
Yeah,
quite a
well, very
task still,
honestly,
yeah.
yes. As I told you, the first few years of my life was, of course, my career as an academician, and of course, I had young children at that time. But as children
Mm-hmm.
graduated, my children grew up. I had a lot of time on hand, and then my interests also started to grow in other fields, and I started to look into other areas where I could use my creative aspects and creativity, and marketing appealed me, and advertising, the field of advertising, copywriting, that kind of area also appealed me a lot. So that's why that agency, I'm part of that the creative as a creative person, I'm involved with that. So I try to
Okay.
and another important, very important thing is that my family support, of course, my kids and my husband, we don't have defined roles in the family. My kids, when they were being brought up in the very young age, they learned to handle things while I'm away. They would do small chores of their own. They would handle things on their own. They started to learn that we have to be independent. Our mom is not going to be there, and I would facilitate them. Of course, I would help them out. Like you can do small things, small tasks before I come. So they would ensure, like, of course, my son helps me in the kitchen. He used to, when he was very young, he was going to class 8th, and I was teaching in the university. And that time he would chop the vegetables along with me. So these are the
Oh,
kind of
sweet.
small things, that made them independent. Now today he's benefiting out of it, and I am also benefiting out of it. So we are breaking down those roles of typical a woman's job and a man's job. And even my husband, he played the role. If whoever enters the house first after the work day will take the charge, in the sense that if we want the dinner to be laid on, or the dishes to be washed, or anything, these things will be taken up by the person whoever comes home first. So these are the kind of small helps that we help, and of course, jumping from one role to the other. No woman can be a Wonder Woman without the support of the family. It's the family that supports you.
It's
So
true. It's true.
of course, the upbringing of my parents, who gave me those values, where I learned to be independent, thought of independent things. And later on, my own family, where I inculcated the value system, where everybody is given equal opportunity and given a chance to think independently, individually, and play each other's roles. No defined role that I am a woman or my husband. I do sometimes the bank work and the office work, and he's at home. When the children were younger, he would be looking after the kids, and then we would switch roles. He would be out, and I would be looking at the after the house. So that, of course, this is the strength that we had, and without this, I don't think so anybody can be successful.
That's very true. That's very true. That actually goes for everyone. I mean, it's the same for men. It's the same for women. But आदमियों के case में it's automatically taken for granted that yeah, the women will be there to take care of small things at home. But I think it's really important in any scenario as it is. So, but you've got quite a considerable teaching experience, and you have been into teacher training also. तो अभी क्या लगता है आपको जो बहुत क्रिटिकल स्किल्स आज के टीचर्स को जो डेवलप करनी चाहिए क्योंकि मुझे कहीं ना कहीं एक डिस्कनेक्ट कभी कभी दिखता है
Yeah, when I observe the teachers, this is something which happened to me in my class. There was a full room of around 40-45 participants, and I was in a school in Aligarh, of course. And I asked the teachers, they were teachers of primary school, secondary school, and I asked them that in your whole
Hmm.
career, in your whole lifetime, because there were different age groups. They were plus 30, 20, young teachers, a little senior teachers. And I asked them, a very casual question as a trainer, that what are the kind of books, apart from the school books that you have to read for your lesson planning and you have to read for your lessons, or while you were at school, what other books or what other things do you read or have you read? And believe me, to my shock, I mean, it was my greatest shock. It was a long time ago, but it happened in that session that they were unaware. They just said, no, we don't get time. We have our families and we have our concerns. So they would just read the school books. In their whole schooling system, they just read their books. And then after that, when they became teachers, they just kept on doing the coursework. And I feel that if you do not have a worldview, you cannot be a good teacher. If you have not traveled, if you are not a critical thinker, if you do not do problem solving, these are the skills that a teacher should have. Because IT skills, these are the basic skills that a teacher should have in order to be a great teacher. Of course, you can be an ordinary teacher, you can be just a mundane, you just come inside the classroom, open the books and just. But the children these days are not whom they want to be like that, to be with someone like that. They love to be with a teacher who knows the cartoons that they watch, the books that they read, the manga that they have seen, so or the music that they listen to. So if you connect with the students more on these grounds, then they feel, the teacher is one of us, not somebody on the board all the time, just far off. So the distance, between the student and the teacher has to be reduced. That is one very important thing. And of course, the teachers have to have a greater worldview. They have to have critical thinking abilities, be able to solve problems, and of course, technically, they need to know their subject matter, content matter. That I think Indians are very good at. They know the content matter very well, no doubt about it. But there are other peripheral skills which the 21st century teachers will be needing, and they really need to work on them of course, they're having continuous professional development through trainings, through reading very different type of, even if you read Hindi or Urdu poets, or any, whatever you want to read, you can read, and that will give you a larger perspective in life. So I think that is very, very important.
Very true. Very true. I mean, it's really essential to have a more global perspective to know things which are happening all around.
Yes, even
Parna,
if a teacher is unaware of AI or techniques that are going on, then she will lag behind. She will be just, after some time, she will be obsolete. She will not be able to cope up with the scenario.
yeah. लेकिन ये बहुत कुछ होता नहीं है. I mean, there are very few teachers who actually do take the pains to, to go ahead
Yes,
and to
yes,
read.
correct. Yeah, I call
Because
them
I'm
teachers.
talking, I'm actually talking from personal experience. I know people, I know teachers, so that's why I'm saying so.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
So,
sure you one has children in the family and your own immediate families. So those are the times when you get experiences, and then that's why when I found my laid down my foundation of my school, I ensured
mhm.
that as a parent, what I have gone through, or where I used to feel that there are shortcomings, I've tried my best. I mean, of course, we are humans and we do get manpower or human resource just from the society only that we live in. But gradually, we can inculcate values and pass it down to others. And as the term now is being used, cascading knowledge, cascading down the knowledge that I have. If I have a certain knowledge, then if I don't pass it down to others, how will others benefit? So it's very, very important that if
Very
I
true.
training program, if I have done a training program and I have got certain skills, it's very important that I cascade my knowledge to others.
So, shouldn't, I mean, for the sake of it, shouldn't schools also really focus कि वो अपने teachers को deliberately एक तरह से expose करें कि क्या चीजें हो रही हैं? When they should have these sessions, they should have
Yeah,
these
yeah, a lot of
क्योंकि वो
schools
इतना
are.
फोकस है टीचर्स स्टूडेंट्स के ऊपर इतना. आई मीन प्राइवेट स्कूल्स में तो मैं देख रहा हूँ कि वो showbazi में बहुत इंटरेस्ट है. I mean, they're really trying to show off. I've spoken to so many teachers here on this platform as well who have said as much कि बहुत सारा फोकस ना वो एक मार्केटिंग में लगा हुआ है, दिखाने में लगा हुआ है. दिस दैट नॉट दैट मच एफर्ट जो वो उस तरफ डाइवर्ट कर रहे हैं. अगर उसको थोड़ा सा लेकर टीचर्स को एक एक्सपोजर देने में, उनको एक ट्रेनिंग देने में लगाएं,
Yeah,
सो दैट विल बी मच मोर बेनिफिशियल.
absolutely, absolutely. I agree totally that teachers training is one of the crucial things that private schools should invest on. And they should not think that the teachers will leave after some time. It's all right, even if they leave, they are going to give good values to your students and good education to the students at the time that they work
I
there.
mean,
The
if you
thing is
think about,
that
yeah,
what the I believe that the jewels that a person or a teacher has are the skills, the abilities, the knack to do things in a different way, to be able to connect with the student. These are the things that you can even use, because I do marketing. I am a person who is not a pure, not going just on the pure, because I know parents demand. There is a demand from the parents also, that what is my child benefiting in your school or any other school. And the school also tries to projects, because if they will establish a new lab, they will advertise that now we have a new lab, or if they are
Right.
doing any fanciful thing is being added. So apart from, of course, the infrastructure or the things that are coming up for the benefit of the school is important, but the qualities of the teachers are also a medium of advertising. If the school starts to think that I have a teacher who is capable and who has a very good connect with the students, I should advertise this, the human, as the instead of the objects of the school only, the infrastructure of the school. We can tell the parents while at the time of admission that your child will be very secure in the hands of this teacher, and this teacher will be
Exactly.
able to
Exactly.
inculcate the
Yeah.
best values in your children. Then there will be a revolutionary change in the school system. The teachers
Very true.
also pressed. I don't blame the teachers alone, because it's the whole system. Like, it works like a vicious circle. That the parents blame the teachers blame the parents, and it goes on and on. So we cannot do that now. It's a high time that the school or the schooling systems should be changed, and they need to
Very
have
true.
teachers who are able to connect with students.
So अगर मैं अपने एक्सपीरियंस से बात करूं तो आई बिलोंग टू द रेडियो इंडस्ट्री ऑब्वियसली हमारे यहाँ रेडियो जॉकीज आई मीन आई वाज वन ऑफ द रेडियो जॉकीज एंड दे आर अदर रेडियो जॉकीज सो उन पे इन्वेस्ट करते हैं जब वो नए आते हैं तो उनको बोलना सिखाते हैं उनको पब्लिसाइज करते हैं उनको मशहूर करते हैं इसके बावजूद कि वो किसी भी दिन छोड़ के जा सकते हैं आई मीन वी नो दैट they can and they will leave, they may leave if they get a better offer, but that doesn't mean that we will not invest on them or will not try to make them as good as possibly they can become, because ultimately it is for us, we do that. अब वो छोड़ के जाते हैं तो that is something which is very different, but then you have to do that.
Yeah, but I think
And
in
if
the
you
in the corporate or in the industry, or even in the schooling, now I'll call you this, even the schooling, honestly, as the industry, because people have,
industry, yeah,
and it's all right. It's all right. I don't agree that it should be only philanthropic or it should be very social only, because teachers are also, after all, there to earn. They need a good salary. They need to earn, and they need to have better opportunities. But they will not get better opportunities unless they hone their own skills. A good school these days, in a good atmosphere in a big city in India, will not hire a teacher if she doesn't or he doesn't have IT skills, or if they are not educated in educational, they are not good with children, and they don't understand the psychological needs of the child. These are essentials of a teacher, essentials that a
very
teacher
true.
needs. So, in the whole schooling system, the student is the most important person. He or she should be happy. When we went to schools, we were not necessarily very happy. I'm sure if you make a survey or if you just ask random questions to people, that how many of you remember, and I do that in my workshops. I just ask the participants that how many of you remember your experiences with a bad teacher. Bad in the sense, not as a person, but maybe she did some corporal punishment and some embarrassing statements that the teachers sometimes pass, or maybe the student was insulted. So they do remember those as very bad experiences in their life, and sometimes they hate school because of that. But on the other hand, I also ask them, now tell me about a good teacher. Then immediately they will all smile. They will, with the frown, they will all become very bright, and then they will start to name the teachers that they gave us an opportunity to go on the stage, or somebody will say they made us help us with some other things, some other skill, or they gave them confidence at the time when they were very shaky in their life. So there are good teachers, and there are teachers who are aiming to make things better for the students, making learning a process rather than one day activity or that particular day task completion activity. It should not be just focused on task completion. Learning, I believe, is a lifelong process. And that is
Very
why
true.
we keep on learning. Sometimes things that we didn't learn in a previous class, maybe after some few years, it might strike. Okay, this is the problem. It's solved. Actually, the kind of pressure that our system is now giving the students, I believe that it should be eased, and it's more of the responsibility of the parents and the teachers collectively that we should ease the students with those pressures, because life is not about just getting your straight A's or your 90%. It's about being happy. At the end of the day, if you're not happy, if you've not done what you want to do, then I don't think so you will ever be contented. You will ever be doing what you are doing in a good way. Even if you are a doctor and you don't give your 100%, or if you are a artist and or a creative person, and or whatever field you've gone to, I feel that it's rather than being an ordinary person in a particular field, it's better to be an excellent person in a field that you wanted to be. And I think without the support of the parents and of
Right.
course the guidance of the teachers, one cannot achieve that.
Very, very true. So, since we were talking about books, you were mentioning how important it is to read books. You yourself have written books like literally selfies, self identity in Indian Muslim and English fiction, and the other one, tune in, develop your listening and speaking skills. So, tell us something about these books.
Yeah, as I already told, that Tune In was a Harper Collins or Collins publication. That was a
Mm-hmm.
pure academic book used in the schools, and it was they had listening and speaking exercises. But the other book is, and the other books are related to um, the image of Muslims and Islam being depicted in English literature. That has been actually my PhD study also. I did
Mm-hmm.
my PhD and at Aligarh Muslim University, and that was my one particular writer. He was a if the audiences are familiar, of course there is a historical listing of the periods in the history of English literature. So he was a
Mm-hmm.
pre-romantic writer, William Beckford, and I worked on his book called Wasit, which was a Khalifa, which was a Khalifa named Khalifa Wasit. He was Khalifa Harun Rashid's grandson. Actually, that is a historical fact. But this novel was definitely a fiction, a fictitious book. And then my discovery was my search was for the image where, which is happening nowadays in the whole world, that we as a community sometimes are targeted and portrayed in a particular image. A
Right.
Muslim a woman or a Muslim man is, with a skull cap and a beard, might be portrayed in a particular way, which might not be true at all. He sometimes, even on my very personal experience, there are times when waiters in the restaurants or a delivery boy, if I speak in English, then they are taken aback a little bit, maybe because I'm covering, maybe because they have an image of me or a woman in this kind of a uniform or a clad in a scarf. They might not think that they are educated. So these are the
Very
small
true.
kind of they might be very small details, but they have been depicted in a wrong way. So English
Stereotype create
literature,
हो गया.
so interestingly, English literature has been full of many writers, many British writers, many European writers, and there have been French works and other language works apart from English, where the portrayal of Muslims and Islam was in the history a long time ago. Starting from Shakespeare onward, we can take it from 14th, 15th, 16th centuries. There was a depiction where the image was not correct, and of course now we are facing that. And even in the 21st century, we have a lot of misinterpretation in the media and in different places. So that has been my mission. So that book is basically full of articles by different people, different academicians, and it was
Mm-hmm.
edited by me, and one of my article was also included in that, and it was edited by me. And there are articles that are defending the image of Muslim women in particular, and the Muslim society in general. So that has been my work, starting from my PhD and till date, in different media. Recently, there have been a lot of debate about movies, where the image is being depicted in a way that it's not true. A particular community cannot be judged on appearances. Any community for that matter. If I see a person of a particular community and I start to judge that person or perceive that person in a wrong way, so these are small things which I feel, through dialogue, through talks, through meeting other peoples of other culture, we develop a cultural tolerance, and cultural mingling is very, very important. We grew up in atmospheres where we never identified ourselves with religion. It was 80s and 90s that were where our friends would come over, we would go to their houses. So these are things which narrowed down somehow. And so my aim is that we should welcome different communities, celebrate each other's festivals, look forward to meeting them. And that's why exchange programs, I believe in exchange programs, even if they are not countrywide, international, it can be very national also. A student coming from Maharashtra to Uttar Pradesh, and from Uttar Pradesh to maybe Kerala or another place, they will get a cultural exposure. That thing should be encouraged amongst the schools, and I'm sure there are very good schools that are doing that already. So I pray and hope that I can also join that, and I can encourage the students to know about other cultures.
Very true, very true. So there's a lot of stereotype, obviously. I mean, and the movies and the media and the
Yes.
books, they keep up with the narration. They keep up with the same narrative that okay, this is this, this is this, this is this, and so you start to expect कि हाँ ये ऐसा ही होगा.
Absolutely.
And we are often misled because of that. And once you actually meet the other person, once you actually come face to face with the other culture or the other people or the community, and then you realize it's nowhere near true. I mean, it's all just rubbish.
Yeah, and media, actually, when we watch it on media, then we do start to believe somewhere, or even very, very educated minds start to believe, because it's
Start
so,
to believe, yeah.
it's impressionistic. If I hear something and if I listen, I watch something, then I will, because as kids, we would visualize while watching American movies, or nowadays the Japanese manga. We visualize those cultures due to those movies. But in reality, when we meet
Exactly.
people, they are just as like us. They have same problems, same issues everywhere in the world. When two women from different cultures meet, because I had an opportunity to meet so many people, an American woman will be
Hmm.
same crying the same problems out, that my household is suffering because I'm working and I have my kids. So same problems. I went to work. I had similar issues. So I realized this, that these are all global, apart from whatever language we may speak, whatever food we may eat, or whatever culture we may be belonging to, or whatever religion we may be following. But there are human values that are similar. Humanity is connected with that, and we should
Very
identify
true.
those good human values and connect with each other.
Absolutely. So, looking back at your rather very impressive career, what are some of the things that you are really proud of?
I don't know. There is nothing to be very proud of. I'm as I said, I'm trying. Every day is a day. When I come back home, I feel that okay, today was a good day and I did something good. And I try to reflect back on, if I could meet a lady whom I could help her, some student whom I could guide towards a better future, or a teacher whom I made her feel that it's an important job that you are doing. It's not an ordinary job that you are doing, because usually in our society we just say, "Oh, teaching to बहुत easy सी job है, अच्छा है 8 से 2 बजे तक की खाली job है." But it's a very hard job. You are looking after the children of somebody else for those 5 hours, 6 hours, and you are giving your life in. So that's what I feel, and one thing that I do is I never stop dreaming about life. I'm a dreamer, and I love to dream about better future, about great things in life. And uh, uh, and I have been very not very overtly, but I am an ambitious person. I like to be ambitious, because that kick gives you a kick to go on. That but despite all challenges in life, we all, whether men or women, I'm not a person who talks about only women's issues. I talk about men's issues also, because men don't think they face those challenges. They also have homes, and they also have wives, who might put demands on them, and similarly wives who might have husbands who have their own expectations from them. So I talk from both the sides, and I believe in equality for both the genders. So with all the challenges that we have of our everyday life, if we are able to do even some small speck in the whole sphere of our lives, I feel it's a good day. I take every day, I mean, day by day, I think that today I achieved something, or I achieved a goal. And of course, it's a blessing that one is able to achieve maybe some of the dreams that I dreamt were 20 years ago, or at the beginning of my career, when even I didn't have a PhD. I thought of doing that, but that was at a very young age of 20, 21, 22. But today I have been able to get that. So to all the young people out there, I would like to say that never stop dreaming, and always think positive, and inshallah, as God willing, things will turn out in your favor. Yeah, although sometimes it might take a whole lifetime. Sometimes that thing might not drop in your lap at the time that you are wanting it. Maybe it'll come sometimes later. But I think that's how life is. That is the kind of circle that we have been put into, that some things we get immediately, and some of the things we get later on. So that's how I feel. And if I don't know, you have seen that cartoon, or there were three girls called Powerpuff Girls,
Powerpuff
and
Girls, yeah.
they would come back home, and then they would say, yes, we won the day, and we saved the day. So I have become like that now, as I am aging, and as I have experienced that even a small thing that I've done in my office, or as I told you, so many small incidences thing, I come home and say, okay, I conquered the day today, and I have done it for today. So that's how I move on.
Wonderful. That's actually a very brilliant way to live. Because if you keep on waiting for the big things, then that might take away a lot of chunk of your life in just waiting for those things to happen.
Yeah, we should not
Anyway,
think in a linear way. We should think in a wholesome way, in a more rounded way, so that if we become linear in our thoughts, then definitely we will suffer.
yes, we will. So, looking at, we were talking, you spoke at length about education. So, talking about education, what are your thoughts on the future of education in India, especially as far as integrating technology, traditional methods, and somehow, despite the fact that we are technologically advancing, we are learning so many things, लेकिन तब भी कहीं ना कहीं we are going back in a way. उसके साथ साथ कहीं ना कहीं क्या बोलेंगे उसे, uh, I'm trying to find the right word, लेकिन एक unscientific होते जा रहे हैं हम किसी सेंस में. I mean,
Yes, yes,
जितना
yes.
हम पढ़ रहे
I
हैं.
also feel that we need to inculcate more of scientific fervor in the thoughts of the people, and it is very important that we bring larger topics of research into our schooling system. I feel that the schooling syllabus should be revised a lot, and what we have been doing, we have been focusing on knowledge that is not applicable in the real world. When we grow out of the school, when we come out of the schools or the colleges, and then when we go to our workplaces, or we have to deal with our lives, then we don't find anything that we were taught in our from our books. So it's very, very important that scientific fervor is inculcated in the young children at a very young age, not by assigning them models to make, but actually trying to inculcate critical thinking. No,
Hmm.
nothing could have been invented in the world or could have been discovered had the person been a very bookish person. That person had the free spirit, and that the parents of that person, the society in general, allowed them, or they struggled through that. Even if they did not allow, they struggled through that. Most of the scientists, if you study their biographies, they struggled through that period, and then they established something very important in science. So that scientific fervor, and then only we can save our environment. The environmental issues, the soil erosion, the different types of pollutions that we are going through. Until unless children are very, very conscious at a primary age or a secondary age, coming by the time they cannot deal with those issues. And of course, the technology, the way that it is going. Another very important thing, as you have, I would like to mention here, because I'm sure there is a lot of people who are listening here, that we need to redesign the courses and the syllabuses according, so that we may not lose our artisans, our farmers. There was an interview of because of the elections,
Hmm.
the journalists are really going into the deep pockets of India, and they're going to the rural areas. So I was watching and listening that in a village there are all farmers. None of their children are studying because they are busy with the farming activity. Why? Because
Right.
I think that if they have to send their child from class 1 to 10 in the school, he will never get time to give a helping hand to his family. So we have to design a course where he becomes literate and mathematically skilled, financially able, and have an agricultural knowledge, and alongside can help with the family business. This can be applied to the farmers, the artisans, because we are either losing the artisans because of the educational system, or they suffer. So we have to blend it somewhere. Somewhere we as educators, as a thinkers, we have to start to think in that order, where both things can be carried out. Their passion, their artist or their livelihood can be saved, as well as they become literate. So there are times when I meet women who just have not even got the birth certificates of their children, and their children are growing up. So it's very unfortunate. Why? Because they were not aware, they were not educated. So we need to get to that grassroots level. And I pray and hope that more people join into these efforts, and wherever they can help, wherever they can advise, give good advice to people, they should.
ट्रू। वो तो खैर हमारा करिकुलम और जो पढ़ाया जाता है और जो काम आता है, दैट्स वेरी वेरी डिफरेंट। आई मीन
Yes.
बेसिक चीजें ही नहीं सिखाई जाती हैं। वी आर नॉट बेसिकली टॉट इवन द बेसिक इकोनॉमिक्स। आई मीन अगर आपका इकोनॉमिक सब्जेक्ट नहीं है, इकोनॉमिक यू हैवंट टेकन इट अप, so the very basic economics is not taught to you. You're not, you should know. I mean, these are very simple things which you should know. I mean, talking to people,
Yeah. If you ask a 10th grader to fill a check, I'm sure there are many 10th graders who will feel it as a challenge to even
challenge to do that. Yeah.
withdraw money from the bank, because they are not given that thing in the hand, and until unless you do it, you will never learn it.
So it's very basic things which are missing from the curriculum.
Yes,
So
yes.
overall, what advice will you like to give to young professionals who are, who are willing to join the education industry, or who are willing to get into social work? Looking back at your, reflecting on your experience, what is something that you would like to tell them?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Of course, I don't want to be a preacher, but these are certain human learnings as you go and progress through your journey of life. There are some lessons which everybody, I think, in their lives do learn, and I learned that one should dream, one should go beyond your capacity, come out of your comfort zones, and strive for higher goals, hone your skills. Uh, always listen to your inner calling, listen to your mind, to your heart, that what you actually want to do is something that will make you happy. These are certain things that I feel every human being, they are the rights of the every child, and we should give the children the opportunity to think for themselves, and then only they can become, whether they want to do UPSC or they want to become doctors, or they want to become anything, robotic engineers, or biochemists, or whatever field they want to go into, or artists, or advertisers, or any field you can flourish or become great in that field by being listening to your inner calling. And I feel I would like to tell the parents here that trust me, that each field has a lot of scope. It's not only
Yeah,
the medical field or the engineering field or very cliched fields that have the scope or the money that you want your child to earn in the future. I think all fields, even if you are an artist, you can be great one day, and the struggle is in all the fields. You cannot become all of a sudden, once you pass your MBBS and do your masters and do your MDs, that you are going to be a very flourishing doctor. No, nobody can guarantee that. It's not necessary that
true.
you might become a very capable doctor. So I feel that in order to become a great person or a great professional, you need to follow your heart.
Very true. So, with that, thank you so much, Dr. Shiri, for taking out this time for us. And that was very heartening, very enlightening. Thank you so much for being here with us and giving us the opportunity to listen to you. And I'm sure that people must have learned a lot from whatever you have shared, because ultimately what I could get out of it is the fact that you should follow your heart, you should follow your dreams, and you should continue to strive to be better. And there's no place where you can become complacent. So that was at least my little bit of takeaway from what I learned from you today. Thank you so much for taking out time for us.
Thank you, Amir, for having me. It was wonderful talking to you, and hopefully we'll catch up later on somewhere. And it was wonderful talking to you, and being able to share my life experiences with so many people. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And I'm really sure it has helped a lot of people to get a lot of insights into how they can manage their careers and they can manage their life better. And especially this was quite insightful. So thank you so much once again. Bye bye.
Thanks for your kind words, Amir. Thanks for your kind words. It's really hard to get compliments. Being a woman, it's not easy. People don't compliment you that easily. But
I'm
thank you so
sure.
much.
No, I think people you do deserve compliments. So that's something which I am not, you know, doing out of the way. It is something which you
Thank
deserve
you
and
so
which
much.
should be there. And thank you so much once again. And we'll be joining next week with another guest. तब तक के लिए शब्बा खैर, शुभ रात्रि, and have a great week ahead. And you too have a great week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good
Bye.
night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.